That's it. You don't even get that title no more. You lost it. You're a sperm donor.
She didn't hire a lawyer. She didn't call a blog. She went live and said everything. NBA YoungBoy's baby mama went live and said things that cannot be unsaid. She named names. She showed evidence. And now millions of people are asking the same question. Did she just end NBA YoungBoy's career for good? Let's find out. The bombshell. On March 2nd, 2026, a woman named Arcalola, the mother of NBA YoungBoy's son, Kale, went live on social media and said everything she had been sitting on for years. No PR team, no lawyer, no carefully worded statement dropped through a rep. She pulled up a camera, looked dead into it, and went absolutely crazy. And by the time she was done, millions of people had seen every single second of it. Because what she was saying wasn't just about her situation. It was about a pattern that a lot of people had already peaked. It was about a marriage that a lot of people had already been side-eyeing. And it was about a little boy who came home from a visit with a mark on his hand that his mama was not about to let slide. The woman she put on blast for all of it. NBA YoungBoy's wife Jasmine Michelle and Shorty did not come to play. Before we get into exactly what Arcola said, and exactly why it hit the way it hit, you got to understand the full picture. Because if you're walking into this code without knowing who these people are and what the history looks like, you're going to miss the whole point. So, let's build it from the jump. NBA YoungBoy, born Kentrell Deshawn Galden on October 20th, 1999 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, is not your average artist. We are not talking about somebody who's hot right now and might cool off next year. We are talking about a certified, documented, record-breaking force in this rap game who has been going stupid since he was a teenager. As of early 2026, he holds the record for the most Billboard 200 chart entries by any rapper in history, 34 albums charted, breaking a record that had stood for years and doing it in just 8 years of dropping projects. He is the most RAJA certified rapper of all time, sitting on over 126 gold or higher certifications as a lead artist. Complex put him on the cover and called him Best Rapper Alive for 2025. His Make America Slime Again tour grossed over $70 million across 42 shows and moved 555,000 tickets. His YouTube channel is sitting at over 15 billion views. For a stretch, he was the most watched musician on that entire platform. Period. This man is not a fluke. He is a franchise. And yet, for as long as his name has been ringing bells in the music industry, his personal life has been the headline that just won't stay in the backseat. Because outside the booth, YoungBoy is out here managing something that most people genuinely cannot fathom. 13 biological children with approximately 10 different women starting from when he was just 16 years old. His oldest, Caden, nicknamed Draco, was born in 2016 when YoungBoy was barely old enough to drive. His youngest, his 13th, was just announced by Jasmine Michelle in late February 2026, just days before all of this popped off. No cap, the timing on that could not have been more wild. Jasmine Michelle Hayes is YoungBoy's wife. They linked up around 2022 and made it official with a marriage in 2023. She has given him at least 3 children, with the newest baby pulling up just before this whole situation went nuclear. On the surface, Jasmine has always moved like the unbothered queen, staying off the blogs, not engaging with the drama, posting family content, looking good doing it, and letting YoungBoy's loyalty speak for itself. That image, the clean, composed, ride-or-die wife who is simply built different from everyone else in his orbit, is exactly what Arcola pulled up to tear down brick by brick. Arcola is often listed as YoungBoy's 7th baby mama, and she is the mother of his son, Cal, born around 2020 or 2021. From most accounts, she has been out here raising Cal largely on her own. No cosigns, no blog presence, no reality show bag. She was not a fixture in the ongoing drama cycle. But something happened. Something involving her son coming home from a visit at YoungBoy and Jasmine's spot with a mark on his hand that she was not buying the explanation for. And whatever that something was, it flipped a switch that apparently had been waiting a long time to get flipped. A viral compilation post from the account since day one on X stitched her clips together and racked up hundreds of thousands of views almost immediately. The caption on that post did exactly what a good caption is supposed to do. It framed the whole thing. It positioned Arcola as finally confirming what fans had been saying for a minute, that Jasmine was, in that post's words, A wolf in sheep's clothing, looking innocent, moving grimy, and Art Kalola sitting in front of that camera with the kind of no-holds-barred energy that only comes from real, accumulated, lived-in frustration, was not about to let anyone miss a single detail of what she had to say.
Mom stopped the car when you was 13 and turned around and spit on you. I probably would have did the same thing.
She didn't ease into it. She didn't warm up the crowd. She came straight out the gate with smoke. And every single person watching immediately understood that this was not a performance. This was not a clout move. This was somebody who had been sitting on something real and finally stopped caring about how it looked to let it out.
The fuck, bitch? You purposely burnt my baby.
That word burnt is where this whole thing pivots, because the injury to Kale's finger is the foundation that every single one of Arcola's allegations was built on top of. And she was not here for any alternative explanation. When she texted Jazan about the mark on her son's hand, Jazan hit her back and said it was a dog bite. And Arcola didn't just disagree with that. She went on camera and bodied the explanation with her bare hands.
That's not a dog bite. I can pull up dog bites.
And that is exactly what she did right there on the live. She started pulling up images of real dog bites and holding them up for comparison like she was presenting closing arguments. She turned her own live stream into a courtroom, and she was prosecuting the case herself.
Let's see what dog bites look like. That's not a dog bite. That is a f***ing burn.
Every comment section on every platform where that clip landed went crazy. People were describing what they were seeing, pointing out the shape of the mark, the coloring, the location on the finger. The internet had already made up its mind before she even finished her sentence.
I could see the brown at the top. That is a f***ing burn. And let KL tell it.
Now. And this is important because we're not out here doing reckless. As of March 4th, 2026, there are no police reports filed, no confirmed CPS investigation publicly, and no mainstream verification of the burn claim. These are Arcola's allegations made live in real time in the middle of what was clearly one of the most heated moments of her life. But she believed every word she said, and she believed it enough to put her name on it in front of millions of people. She was also hot about what she said didn't happen after the injury was found. She questioned why, if this was truly a dog bite, nobody took Kale to get a tetanus shot. She questioned why there was zero medical follow-up at all. For any mama watching that live, those are not small details. Those are the whole conversation.
He thinks when I got hit in the eye, it was his his SPERM space DONOR. She's not a dad. She's just a sperm donor.
She had moved past the injury and into something that had clearly been eating at her for much longer. The accusation that YoungBoy had never been a real consistent present father to Kale in any meaningful way. That the pickups were for the gram. That the visits were content. That the day-to-day was all on her.
That's it. You don't even get that title no more. You lost it. You're a sperm donor.
And then she locked in on Jazan. And this is where the wolf in sheep's clothing narrative went from fan gossip to something that felt like documented fact to everybody watching.
Think she's superior sitting in a house getting cheated on.
She was going after the persona. The carefully maintained, squeaky clean persona of the woman who was simply too elevated to be touched by the messiness around her. Art Kalola was saying loudly publicly on camera that the persona was a lie and that the woman behind it knew exactly what she was building and exactly why she was building it.
You got some nerve to lie to me about my kid. That's why them be your husband down.
By the time she got to this point, the live stream had already outgrown the co-parenting argument it started as. It had become a full-on referendum on Jazan's entire identity and on whether the domestic stability YoungBoy had been publicly leaning on was something he had actually built or something he had just been marketing.
My son didn't do shit. He's innocent. She still asks about your dirty.
And right there, underneath all of that heat, underneath all of that raw fury, was the thing that made the whole thing land differently than regular celebrity drama. Because a child who still asks about his father, who still says he misses him, is not a talking point. He is a real little kid who has real feelings. And his mother was in that camera fighting for him, the only way she knew how.
He still say he miss you. Anyways, I'm done. My TED Talk.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. In the middle of one of the realest, rawest moments of her entire life, she still landed the line, and the whole internet, without even agreeing on everything else, agreed on that. Shorty had bars, everything that built up to the explosion. The most critical piece of history between Arcola and YoungBoy goes back to November of 2023. Arcola publicly accused YoungBoy of having two women run up on her at his Utah home while he was on house arrest. She said she had pulled up to get kale. She said the situation got physical fast. She said she caught a blow above her eye that left her needing 5 stitches and that she was holding her baby in her arms when it happened. The whole thing allegedly started over whether YoungBoy was going to cover her flight costs to come get her own child. Texts involving Jazzen surfaced as part of that financial back and forth. Though Jazzen was not accused of being directly involved in the physical altercation itself, Arcola said she wasn't pressing charges, but she made absolutely sure the streets knew the story. That was 2023. By 2026, nothing between them had gotten better. It had gotten worse. So, when Arcola announced on that March 2026 live that she was taking YoungBoy to court for child support with a court date locked in for June 26, 2026 at 8 o'clock in the morning, nobody in the comments should have been surprised. She wasn't freestyling. She had already filed. She was already in the system. The live was just where she made it public knowledge. She closed one of her rants with the kind of send-off that only hits right when you know the bag is secured. See you June 26th at 8 a.m. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. That's not a threat. That's a calendar invite. Her accusations about YoungBoy's parenting went wider than just the injury, too. She called him a deadbeat. Said he only pulls up for photos and videos, the kind of content that makes him look like a present father on the timeline, but that when it comes to changing diapers, consistent care, or putting real money on the table in a sustained way, he wasn't showing up. And when she explained why, she kept it all the way 100. He got a whole football team of kids. Of course he's gonna be a deadbeat. 13 children, 10 mothers. Do the math on how much time and presence any one child can realistically receive from a man who is also navigating house arrest, federal cases, a music empire, and a marriage. The math is not giving what it needs to give. But this drama was never going to stay contained to just Arcola and YoungBoy because nothing in this man's orbit ever stays a two-person situation. The first person to come through and pour more gas on the fire was Iyanla Mayweather, daughter of Floyd Mayweather and the mother of YoungBoy's son, Cantrell Jr., and if you know anything about this story, you already know that Yaya is not a background character. She is one of the most significant figures in the entire YoungBoy saga, and her history in this situation goes to some very dark places. On the night of April 3rd, 2020, a YoungBoy's home in Houston, Texas, Yaya stabbed Lepatra Jacobs, another one of YoungBoy's baby mamas, multiple times in the arm. The situation kicked off when Yaya pulled up to the crib, found Leatra there, and what started as a verbal confrontation escalated into straight-up violence. She was arrested on aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, a secondary felony that carried a potential sentence of 2 to 20 years in prison. In April 2022, she pleaded guilty and received 6 years of deferred adjudication probation. And then in November 2025, years after the incident, she posted a public apology, addressed her parents, addressed Leatra Jacobs by name, and put it all in the frame of growth and accountability. She was out here trying to turn the page. And yet, the moment the Since Day One compilation started going crazy on the timeline in March 2026, Yaya jumped back into the mix, retweeting and co-signing posts that pushed the narrative that Jazzen was not so innocent. She wasn't going live and losing her composure. She was more calculated than that, but the message was loud and clear to anyone paying attention. She agreed that the squeaky clean wife image didn't match what was actually going down behind closed doors. Coming from someone with her history in this situation, that cosign carried weight that a random comment section post never could. Jazzen's sister, Kaliant, checked Yaya almost immediately, coming with screenshots and accusations of her own, saying Yaya was two-faced, that she'd been sending private apologies while throwing public shade. A whole sub-beef popped off on the side. More sisters got name-dropped. More receipts got thrown into the timeline, and suddenly the internet had multiple simultaneous situations to track, all of them pointing in the same direction. At Jazzen's reputation, and at the very real question of whether the life she'd built as YoungBoy's wife was as solid and genuine as she'd been presenting it. Underneath all of that, an older story started circulating again with renewed energy. A December 2024 Storytime video from an Instagram model known as 7TV had alleged that she was flown out to YoungBoy's Utah home in 2022 while he was already locked in with Jazzen and had a whole encounter with him there. Arcola brought that story up directly during her rants. She wasn't just saying Jazzen was being played. She was saying Jazzen knew she was being played, or at least had every reason to know, and was choosing to stay because the lifestyle, the ring, and the spousal support potential were worth more to her than the truth. Whether that's a fair characterization or not, it spread fast. And for a woman whose whole brand was built on being the untouchable, above-it-all wife, having that narrative attached to your name in front of millions of people is not something you just shake off. And then came the detail that arguably did more damage to YoungBoy's image in 48 hours than anything Arcade Kalola said about Jazzen. Reports surfaced that during the back and forth, YoungBoy allegedly said Fox to son, apparently to get under Arc Kalola's skin during an argument. Whether those were his exact words, whether the context got twisted, whether he said it in anger and didn't mean it the way it landed, none of that mattered once it hit the timeline. The internet processed it as fact and reacted accordingly. And the reaction was a different kind of heat than his prior controversies had generated because fans who had held him down through shootings, through gun charges, through years of legal nightmares and baby mama warfare suddenly went quiet because there is no spin on that sentence. There is no way to make his son look okay when the son in question is a 5-year-old who, per his own mama, still asks about his daddy and says he misses him. YoungBoy reportedly deactivated his Twitter DX account temporarily in the days that followed. He had already been publicly positioning himself as Jazzen's defender, telling critics to keep her name out of their mouths, calling her his motivation and his source of stability. But the combination of Arc Kalola's live streams, Yaya's cosign, the 7 TV story coming back around, and his son allegation created a wave that his usual talking points couldn't fully absorb. And here is where we need to zoom out, because the narrative about Jazzen being positioned above the other mothers and children did not start in 2026. It started in November 2022, and the person who started it was YoungBoy himself. In an emotional Instagram post dropped around November 20th, 2022, he publicly announced that he was cutting off contact with most of his children, the ones whose mothers he felt had been using the kids as leverage, damaging his reputation, and trying to control him through drama. He told those mothers that their children would have to reach out to him on their own terms when they were old enough to understand the situation. And in that same post, he put Jazzen on a pedestal above everyone else. He wrote, "Jasmine told me to stop trusting these HI." He credited her. He rode for her publicly. He made it clear she was the only one in his circle who had been keeping it real with him. For the mothers of those children, including Arc Kalola, who had already been out here raising Kyle largely on her own, that post was not just a gut punch. It was a declaration of war. It told them exactly where they stood in this man's world, and exactly who had his ear. And for Arc Kalola specifically, who would go on to make serious allegations just a year later and who would eventually find herself on a live in March 2026, comparing burn marks to dog bites, that November 2022 post may have been the moment that set the whole chain reaction in motion. The career versus the narrative. YoungBoy's come up is not a story that starts anywhere comfortable. It starts in Baton Rouge with a father who got hit with a 55-year prison sentence before Contrell was old enough to understand what a prison sentence meant. It starts with being raised by a grandmother who died of heart failure after one of his releases from juvenile detention. The one person he has described in his own words as his protection, his comfort, his everything. It starts with a wrestling accident at a round age that broke his neck and left him with permanent scars from a halo brace. He started rapping at 14 with a cheap Walmart microphone because he genuinely did not have access to anything better. He got locked up for attempted first-degree murder at 16 after a drive-by shooting, took a plea deal, and walked back into the studio like that was just part of the process because for him it was. By August 2017, he had signed to Atlantic Records for a reported $2 million deal. By 2019, he was the most watched YouTube artist in the entire United States for 101 straight weeks. He became the first rapper in history to put 3 #1 albums on the Billboard 200 in under a year. He recorded and dropped Sincerely Kentrell from Behind Bars in 2021, debuting at #1, making him only the 3rd artist in history to pull that off, following Tupac and Lil Wayne. And through all of that, the drama never stopped. The legal cases never stopped. The baby mama headlines never stopped. None of it slowed him down. All of it became fuel. In 2018, surveillance footage came out showing YoungBoy allegedly throwing and dragging his then-girlfriend Jania Michelle through a hotel hallway in Warehouse, Georgia. He caught a grand jury indictment on aggravated assault and kidnapping charges. In December 2019, he pleaded guilty to a reduced misdemeanor, simple battery, paid the fine, did the probation, and kept it moving. The career didn't pause, the streams didn't dip, the fan base didn't abandon him. In that same Billboard cover interview, the one where he got real about what all of this had actually cost him internally, he said something that genuinely stopped people in their tracks.
Man, I feel very wrong about a lot of things. How many lives I actually am responsible for when it comes to my music.
That kind of self-reflection is rare from a man at his level. And it hits different when you understand the context it's coming from. A guy who has been in the middle of controversy his entire adult life, who is only now starting to publicly sit with what that actually means.
How many kids and people have gotten in the car or put this in their ears and actually went hurt someone?
He didn't stop there. He kept going. And what came next felt less like a media moment and more like a man genuinely trying to work something out loud.
And now I'm sitting back like, damn, I can't do it all in one day, but I promise to clean whatever I can clean, but it's gonna take time.
That's a different version of YoungBoy than the one who was going live and dismissing baby mamas a few years prior. And whether you take that at face value or not, it matters because it tells you something about where his head is supposed to be right now. As this new wave of drama is crashing into everything he just built, coming out of house arrest, he got a presidential pardon from Donald Trump in May 2025 on his gun charges, and the freedom that followed was immediate and explosive. The Make America Slime Again tour was a monster. $70 million gross, $555,000 tickets, 42 US shows, and an energy inside those arenas that proved his fan base had not gone anywhere during all those years of restriction. Slime Cry dropped in January 2026 and debuted at number 6 on the Billboard 200. He is booked and busy. A European tour in the works, up to 4 more projects planned for 2026, a concert documentary, and the launch of 38 films. On paper, this man is in his bag, and the bag is sealed. So, where does Arcola's live stream fit into all of that? Where does the burn allegation, the child support case, the Yaya cosign, the Jocelyn implosion, where does any of it actually land when you put it next to the reality of what this career looks like? Honestly, in the short term, it doesn't move the needle commercially. YoungBoy's core audience, the 4KT, the day ones, the people who have been rocking with him since the Baton Rouge tape era, do not operate like a mainstream pop fanbase. They are not checking gossip blogs before they decide whether to stream the new album. They have seen this man go through shootings, indictments, house arrest, baby mama wars, and a federal gun case, and they have never left. The drama has never been a disqualifier for them. If anything, it has always been part of why his music hits the way it hits. He raps about real pain because the pain is real. They know it, they feel it, and no amount of co-parenting chaos is going to change that relationship. His career has already survived a kidnapping indictment, a hotel assault caught on surveillance, federal firearms charges, multiple house arrest violations, and years of documented baby mama conflict, and came out the other side with more records broken, more albums charted, and more cultural weight than when it went in. He reportedly dropped over 300 songs while on house arrest between 2021 and 2025. He debuted at number 1 from a prison cell. He broke the all-time Billboard 200 rapper record from a Utah mansion with restrictions on his movement. The music is not what's fragile in this story. It never has been. But, and this is where you have to slow down and really think about it, there's a version of the story where the damage is very real, even if it doesn't show up on a streaming chart. Because the child injury allegation, even completely unverified, puts a specific kind of attention on YoungBoy that is different in quality from everything that came before it. Every prior controversy was about his own choices, his own actions, his own legal situations, his own behavior. What Arcola is putting on the table involves a child, a 5-year-old with no say in any of this, who came home from a visit with a mark on his hand that his mother did not recognize, and whose father allegedly responded to the whole situation by saying his son in an argument. That is a different kind of accusation. It draws a different kind of scrutiny, the kind that doesn't come from the blogs, but from people asking harder, more serious questions. Questions about what accountability looks like when you have 13 children. Questions about whether the troubled genius who keeps it real narrative that has always given YoungBoy his armor is starting to have a ceiling. The Deadbeat Dad label has been attached to his name before, but it has never arrived alongside an injury allegation and a confirmed court date at the same time. The child support case is moving. June 26, 2026, 8 a.m. That is not a threat made on a live stream anymore. That is a date in a courthouse calendar. And court dates generate a different kind of coverage than Twitter beef. Slower, more formal, harder to spin, and way harder to make disappear. What this whole situation ultimately puts on display is something that has always been true about YoungBoy, but rarely gets stated straight up. His career has never been the vulnerable thing in his story. The career has been the constant, the one thing that kept producing, kept charting, kept going regardless of what was burning around it. He dropped 300+ songs from house arrest. He went #1 from prison. He broke all-time records while wearing an ankle monitor. The music is locked in. The bag is secured. The legacy is already written. What is not locked in, what has always been the exposed nerve in his public image, is the family narrative. The story he tells about himself as a father, as a husband, as a man who has found something stable in the middle of everything chaotic. Jason was the pillar of that narrative. The composed wife, the woman who had his back when everyone else was on nonsense, the proof that behind all the smoke, there was a real home being built. Arcola's live stream didn't just challenge that narrative. It called it staged. It said the stability is a brand deal, not a reality. It said the children from other relationships are being left behind while one woman collects the ring and the lifestyle. Whether any of that holds up in a courtroom is a separate conversation, but the damage to the narrative, to the story, is already done. And millions of people who watched that live are going to be watching June 26th with a whole different set of eyes. Did Arcola destroy his career? Nah, not even in the same zip code as that. But did she crack something that was already under pressure and put it on display for the whole internet to see? Without question. And in a situation this deep with this many people involved and a court date already on the books, cracks don't tend to stay cracks for long. Love this video? Click on these cards for